为什么只有女的可以要求男的，男的不能要求女的？
也太高了，你要求那么多女生3000，你让女孩子8天，
月薪3000不高啊。
他不高，他要求你只要8天。
他反过来，他做家务啊，
我能帮他们家传宗接代。我要找的是什么？愿意花钱的。
I can carry on the family line for the woman's family. So, what kind of woman should I be looking for? She should be someone willing to spend money on me. Many of you question why I want a wealthy woman and suggest I can't meet women's standards. Then let me ask all of you this. If I meet a woman's needs, who is going to meet my needs? Am I supposed to always consider others without thinking about myself? I need to think about myself too. If I end up with someone, I'm very clear about one thing. In certain aspects, a man's value is more significant than a woman's. Statistics show that the average life expectancy of women is longer than that of men. So, I want to ask whose youth is shorter, men's or women's? The answer is obvious. Men's youth is shorter. Therefore, if I can't find someone we both like, I might as well marry a wealthy woman straight away. Of course, I'm currently looking for love, hoping to find someone we mutually like. But if it doesn't work out, I'll just marry a wealthy woman and stop caring too much about anything else. If you're a woman and you don't have money, that just means you lack capability in certain areas. Only poor women think men are materialistic, while wealthy women focus on whether a man can bring other value. Don't you agree? As for arrangements after marriage, I have my own opinions. For instance, after getting married, the household finances should be controlled by the man, and the woman's money shouldn't be freely kept in her hands. As for the bride price, I can certainly give it, but it depends on how much dowry the other side can offer me. After marriage, my wife's salary must be fully handed over to me. Only if I manage the income can I prevent the woman from spending money recklessly.
男生们是要造反了吧？开始反击做主人了。
Are men finally starting to fight back, striving to become the masters of the household? Today, I came across a piece of matchmaking news, and the story was absolutely jaw-dropping. At their first meeting, the two followed the usual practice of briefly introducing their basic information. From looks to other aspects, the man was evidently very satisfied with the woman's conditions. Not long after they started chatting, he directly expressed his intentions. He told the woman, "I think you're pretty nice. We can get married, but there's one condition: you need to bring a dowry of 300,000 yuan. Upon hearing this, the woman's expression changed visibly, and she stood up angrily, ready to leave. However, after taking just a few steps, she couldn't hold back and turned around to lash out at the man. She questioned, "Where do you get this confidence from? I haven't even decided to marry you yet, and here you are asking for 300,000 yuan. Besides, aren't you the one marrying me? How did it turn into me having to pay you?" The man, however, remained calm and composed, showing no signs of panic. He responded, "Can you change a light bulb? Can you install an air conditioner? Fix a computer, assemble furniture, or help with moving to a new house? Which of these can you do?" The woman was momentarily at a loss for words and could only reply, "I can't." The man then continued, "Since you can't do any of these, doesn't that mean I'll have to do them all? So what's wrong with you giving me 300,000 yuan? Hearing this, the woman became even more furious. She sneered and retorted, "Can you have children?" It was as if the man had anticipated this question. He smiled and replied, "Can you have a child all by yourself? Don't you need me too?" This statement left the woman momentarily speechless. She glared at the man angrily and said, "You're just being shameless." However, the man didn't stop there. He continued, "Look, you can't do any household chores, and if I marry you, I'll have to worry about all these things for the rest of my life. Do you think giving me 300,000 yuan is unfair? I actually think it's a perfectly reasonable request." After reading this news, I couldn't help but feel that the man's logic was remarkably clear-headed, even to the point of being aggressively justified. What does everyone think? Do you think the man's argument makes sense?
In our matchmaking work, we often encounter people with specific requirements. Take, for example, a gentleman who came to us 2 weeks ago. His qualifications could be described as highly advantageous. This man was born in 1988, holds an associate degree, and started his own business right after graduating from university. His current annual income has stabilized at over 1 million yuan. In addition, he owns multiple properties, and just from rental income alone, he earns several 100,000 yuan per year. It's safe to say his financial situation is highly enviable. However, this gentleman has some very unique preferences for choosing a partner. When he approached me, he specifically requested that I not list his actual high income in his profile, but instead state his income as being at the level of an ordinary office worker, such as around 10,000 yuan per month. As for other information, like owning a car, owning a house, having an associate degree, and being self-employed, he had no special requests to conceal. Regarding this request, the man explained that he had been in a long-term relationship before, and found that the women he dated were often only interested in his financial status, and weren't genuinely sincere about him. Moreover, they were very extravagant with money. This caused him to have doubts about relationships, and he hesitated to ask friends for matchmaking help, fearing he'd be ridiculed. Therefore, he decided to come to me, hoping that through professional matchmaking services, he could find the right partner. This man's criteria for choosing a partner are as follows. He hopes the woman is a graduate of a top-tier university, absolutely not materialistic, has a stable job, and has a gentle and caring personality. At the time, I reminded him that with the information he wanted to include in his profile, it would be difficult to find a woman who met his requirements. But he insisted that I try. As a result, a week after his profile was published, not a single woman expressed interest in him. Later, he asked me to adjust his income to 200,000 yuan, but still no one showed interest. It wasn't until we updated his income to 500,000 yuan that women started to inquire about him. However, by that time, his criteria for a partner had changed. He now required the woman to be at least 165 centimeters tall, under 27 years old, with a top-tier university degree, and good looks. I asked him why he suddenly changed his requirements. He said, "If my income is not disclosed, I can lower my expectations because at that time, I was just looking for someone who doesn't care about money. That was my core requirement. But now that my income is openly stated, the situation is different. This is essentially like a business negotiation. In that case, I can't let myself be at a disadvantage, can I?" This man's thought process struck me as rather complex, and made me wonder whether there was anything wrong with his logic.
This is simply a real-life story that's even more absurd than a TV drama. Last week, a woman and a man were matched for a blind date here. As soon as they sat down, the man spoke directly, "I have excellent genes, and I can definitely produce a healthy child. You're not young anymore, so we should have a child first, and then get married. This would be more efficient. It's best to have a child within a year." He spoke with great confidence and emphasized that they should live together as soon as possible to better show their true selves to each other. Then, after getting to know each other better, they could get married and have children. But that's not all. The man insisted on living at the woman's house, explaining that the house he owns is for investment purposes and is intended for resale, so it absolutely cannot be used for living. He then added that he enjoys drinking and often gets drunk, which means he frequently needs to hire a driver to take him home, a costly expense. Therefore, he required the woman to regularly drive to pick him up. If the woman said she didn't have a car, he had a very simple solution. The woman should immediately buy a BMW 5 Series or a car of equivalent level, as he needs to maintain his dignity when traveling. If she couldn't afford a car, then she should ask her parents for money to resolve the issue. When it came to the wedding, the man's remarks were even more outrageous. He clearly stated, "Women usually like to spend money, so when I get married, the woman must give me a bride price because I live a very frugal life, spending only 20,000 to 30,000 yuan a year. The rest of my money goes into investments, so I don't have much savings." As for the wedding expenses, he suggested using gift money from guests to cover the costs. According to his calculations, after deducting the wedding expenses, they could still profit by more than 100,000 yuan. Honestly, I've never seen such an arrogant man in my entire life. What's even more shocking is that he had also made detailed plans for life after marriage. He stated that the woman would be fully responsible for raising the child, while he would only contribute 3,000 yuan per month for household expenses. If that amount wasn't enough, the woman would have to make up the difference herself. As for the future, he said he would consider increasing the household budget only after he fully trusted the woman. Additionally, he demanded that the woman have a gentle personality and always consider his emotions. Divorce, he said, would not be allowed under any circumstances after marriage. This series of demands is simply jaw-dropping. Tell me, where does such an ordinary man get the confidence to make such absurd and ridiculous conditions? This man truly challenges my understanding of reality. Are Chinese men really this confident nowadays?
喺相睇市場咧，女仔可以提要求嘅。
In today's dating market in China, women can set their requirements, but men cannot. They are expected to unconditionally accept everything the women demand. Honestly, I don't want to point out the flaws in women, but I really can't hold back this time. Today, a woman born in 1991 came to us. She is 1.65 meters tall, a local from Guangdong, and works as a teacher. She asked if we had any suitable men for her. I asked her about her requirements, and she said her expectations were not high. She wanted a man who is a local from Guangdong, unmarried, owns a car and a house, has a stable job, and earns at least 20,000 yuan per month. So, I matched her with a man. He's from Guangdong, owns a self-built house in the countryside, fully paid for a car, works as a procurement manager, and earns about 50,000 yuan per month. The woman was very satisfied as soon as she heard about him. But I immediately told her that this man also has some requirements for women. First, he hopes the woman can cook. Wow! Upon hearing this, the woman widened her eyes and said, "Is this man looking for a nanny?" I continued with the man's second condition. He expects the woman to be very gentle with him and his family. Unexpectedly, the woman became even more agitated and said, "Why? Men should be gentle with women instead." To be honest, I personally agree with the man's requirements. After all, he shouldn't have to compromise himself. Women are very clear about their demands for a man's appearance, height, income, house and car. This situation is like doing business. The most important thing is to identify the customer's needs, then improve your product to meet those needs, so both parties can happily close the deal. I've seen many men, and honestly, most of them are very respectful of women. They're also well aware of their shortcomings and even feel ashamed of them. But women? Do they ever feel even a little embarrassed about not meeting a man's expectations, such as not knowing how to cook?
Yesterday, I acted as a matchmaker, arranging a meeting between a man and a woman for a blind date. Later, the 37-year-old man told me he couldn't quite accept the woman's age. Although the woman is 36, she is truly outstanding. So, I told the man that since he himself is no longer young, he shouldn't mind her age too much. To my surprise, his response left me speechless. As soon as I finished speaking, he immediately retorted, "Then you should tell that woman not to care about my house, my car, or my savings either. Do you think I didn't want to get married or date when I was younger? Back then, they didn't even give me a chance because they thought I was poor and incapable. Now that I have a house, a car and savings, why can't I have my own standards? Why can't I look for a young and beautiful woman? Those women over 30, I won't even glance at them. So yes, I insist on finding a young and beautiful woman. There's nothing to argue about, understand?" His words rendered me completely unable to respond. They felt harsh, but I had nothing to say in return.
Today, I came across a news story about a young man who made numerous demands at a matchmaking corner, only to be mocked by some women and older ladies present as being crazy. His specific requirements were, although he earns 6,000 yuan per month, he wants to find a woman who earns at least 12,000 yuan, preferably owns a fully paid-off apartment in the city, and also has a fully paid-off car. Additionally, he insisted that after marriage, both their salaries must be managed by him. These demands sparked quite a controversy. This type of news isn't unique. There are many similar incidents, and they highlight an interesting societal phenomenon. When women make similar demands, many people find them reasonable and acceptable. It seems like a matter of course. But when the same demands come from a man, public opinion often quickly condemns him. Comments like dreaming too big or crazy are not uncommon. For instance, this young man, who earns 6,000 yuan but wants a woman earning over 10,000 yuan, or who doesn't own property but expects his partner to, was immediately ridiculed by the women around him as soon as he spoke. However, if a woman made the same demands, most people likely wouldn't see a problem and might even find them reasonable. Take another example. If a man stated that he is willing to take care of household chores, cooking, laundry, raising children, and even supporting his partner's parents, while asking for a dowry in return, many people would find it outrageous and label him crazy. Yet, if a woman proposed similar terms, the societal reaction would likely be, "This is perfectly normal." This reflects the current social perception of the roles men and women play in relationships and the unequal recognition of their rights and obligations. These deeply ingrained ideas lead to entirely different standards for men and women when discussing similar issues. In fact, the discussion surrounding this news and similar events is really a question of the rationality of this way of thinking. Shouldn't we reevaluate why the same demands are widely accepted when made by women, but seem unreasonable when made by men? How do you feel about men boldly making such demands of women? Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. Your support means so much to us, and we will continue to bring you even better content. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.